All right, let's talk about one of the biggest headaches in crypto, speed, or, the lack of it. The biggest blockchains out there, they're basically stuck in a massive traffic jam. So today, we're going to look at two really fascinating solutions trying to break that gridlock: Cardano's Hydra and, of course, Bitcoin's legendary Lightning Network.
So, you might be asking, why is this even a problem? Well, think about it like this. Imagine a huge, bustling city, but it only has a single-lane highway going through it. What happens during rush hour? It becomes a complete parking lot, right? That is exactly the problem for big blockchains like Bitcoin and Cardano. Every single transaction is another car on that one road. And what does that get you? Gridlock, crazy high fees, and super frustrating delays. And look, this isn't just annoying. It's probably the single biggest thing holding crypto back from real mainstream adoption.
So the really clever answer that engineers came up with is, surprisingly simple when you think about it. They just asked, what if we could get most of that traffic off the main road? And that's the whole idea behind off-chain scaling. It's all about building these little side roads or express lanes where transactions can fly by super fast without ever clogging up that main blockchain highway.
Now, the technical name for these side roads is a Layer 2 protocol, or just L2 for short. Think of it as a whole separate system that's built right on top of the main blockchain, which we call Layer 1. This L2 handles a ton of transactions off-chain, away from the main network's traffic, and it only checks back in with the main chain when it absolutely has to. The result? A massive boost in speed and a huge drop in those annoying fees.
And what's really cool is that both Hydra and Lightning, even with all their differences, are actually built on the exact same core idea. It's this simple three-step dance. Step 1, you lock some funds on the main blockchain to open up a private channel. Step 2, you transact back and forth off-chain as much as you want, instantly and for practically nothing. Then, Step 3, when you're all done, you just settle the final balance back on the main chain. That's it. You get two tiny on-chain transactions, and in between, you can have unlimited off-chain action. It's pretty genius.
Okay, so let's see how this plays out in the real world. We've got to start with the OG, the most famous Layer 2 out there, Bitcoin's Lightning Network. This is the one that really proved this whole off-chain thing wasn't just some crazy idea on a whiteboard.
Lightning has one job, and it does it really well: make Bitcoin payments fast and cheap. It's basically the high-speed express lane for all the little things. Buying a coffee, sending a few bucks to a friend, all the stuff that would be totally impossible on the slow and expensive main Bitcoin chain.
So how does this whole thing actually work? Well, Lightning creates this giant web of private payment channels between users. Now, if I want to pay you, but we don't have a direct channel open, the network is smart enough to find a path between us, hopping through other people's channels, kind of like a connecting flight. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. For my payment to get to you, every single person on that path has to have enough money ready to go to pass it along. That's what we call liquidity, and it is absolutely crucial. This setup also means you pretty much have to stay online and forget about running complex smart contracts on it. It just wasn't built for that.
And this is where things get tricky. Because nobody knows exactly how much liquidity everyone else has, finding a good path for your payment can be a real shot in the dark. For tiny payments, it's usually fine. But once you start sending larger amounts, payments can fail like 10 to 20% of the time. It's not ideal. And all that complexity, it pushes a lot of people to just use custodial apps that handle all the messy stuff for them. So you end up trading a little bit of decentralization for convenience.
But hey, let's be real here. Despite those challenges, Lightning is a huge success. It is absolutely battle-tested. It's got real users and real traction. I mean, at any given moment, you've got something like 4,000 Bitcoin locked up in the network, powering millions of transactions. It has proven without a doubt that this model really works for payments.
Okay, so that's the veteran, the established player. But what about the new kid on the block? Let's switch gears and see how Cardano is tackling this exact same problem, but with a totally different spin: Hydra.
And things got really exciting back in October 2025 when they dropped Hydra node version 1.0.0. This was a huge milestone. This was the moment Hydra went from being just an idea on paper to something real, something developers could actually start playing with on the Cardano mainnet using real ADA. Now, to be fair, it's still a pre-release, definitely not ready for prime time yet, but man, what a massive step forward.
And this really gets to the core difference in their whole philosophy. See, Hydra isn't just trying to be a payment highway like Lightning. No, it's being built as a high-speed extension for all of Cardano's features, especially its powerful smart contracts. The big goal here is to be able to run entire decentralized applications, dApps, completely off-chain.
Yeah, this quote really paints the picture. It says, imagine playing a game, sending money, or running a dApp where thousands of transactions fly by in the blink of an eye. That's the vision. It's about making things like super fast gaming or complex DeFi possible, all without ever slowing down the main Cardano chain. We're talking a much, much bigger ambition than just payments. And the performance potential? It is absolutely staggering. In this now famous demo called Hydra Doom, where they literally use the classic video game Doom to fire off transactions, the team hit a peak speed of 1 million transactions per second. Let that sink in, 1 million. That number's just mind-boggling.
Okay, but before we all get too carried away, we have to add a huge asterisk to that number. And this is really important context. That 1 million TPS was achieved in a perfect, custom-built lab setting. It was a demo designed to show the absolute theoretical maximum. It's the peak of the mountain, not what you're going to see in a normal, everyday application right now.
All right, this brings us to a super common myth that we've got to bust right now. For a long time, people were saying that a single Hydra head, that's their name for a channel, can handle something like 1,000 users. Yeah, that's not quite how it works.
The reality is, Hydra is designed to scale horizontally. What does that mean? It means the big idea isn't to have one giant head with 1,000 people crammed into it. Nope. The vision is to have thousands of small heads, each with just a handful of people, all running at the same time, in parallel. You get to massive scale by running tons of these small, efficient groups all at once.
Okay, so we've met our two contenders, now it's time for the main event. Let's put these two side by side and really dig into where they're different.
Really, the biggest difference boils down to this. Lightning is a specialist. It is laser-focused on one thing, payments. Hydra, on the other hand, is a generalist. It's designed for all kinds of applications. Think of it this way. Lightning is like a high-end screwdriver, perfect for its one job. Hydra is more like a Swiss Army knife, a versatile multi-tool.
And that core difference really shapes how they're built. Lightning is a huge sprawling mesh of two-person channels, and all they really do is keep track of simple balances. Hydra is totally different. It uses these small, isolated groups or heads that can handle Cardano's entire smart contract system. And this has a real impact. Lightning's complexity can kind of push you towards using custodial services, whereas Hydra is built from the ground up to be non-custodial. But they each have their own big mountain to climb. For Lightning, it's all about fixing those routing and liquidity problems. For Hydra, the next big challenge is figuring out how to get all those isolated heads to talk to each other.
So what's the big takeaway here? What does this all mean for the future of getting blockchains to actually be fast? Where are these two projects headed?
Well, for Hydra, the journey is really just getting started. This version 1.0.0 is very much experimental. It has some training wheels on it, like limits on how much ADA you can put in. It's just not tough enough yet for real-world use. The absolute biggest job they have ahead of them is solving that communication problem, connecting all of these separate islands of activity into one big seamless network.
When you lay it all out, maybe it's not even right to think of them as direct competitors. They kind of feel like two totally different, almost complementary visions for the future. You've got Lightning, the battle-hardened specialist, the go-to highway for simple payments, and then you have Hydra, this new, flexible powerhouse that's being built for a whole new world of complex dApps. And that really leaves us with one final big question. Are Hydra and Lightning really rivals, locked in some kind of winner-take-all battle? Or are they both just crucial pioneers, showing us different paths up the same mountain of scalability? Maybe, just maybe, they're the building blocks for a future that's faster,